All right, so 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And when I think of somebody or something having power, I just immediately think of a tiger, because a tiger just ripples with power. He doesn't have to threaten you. He just is, right? If he's in your yard, you're not going to shoo him away. Every fiber of his being ripples with power. All right, so I just wanted to point that out. There are other animals that are like that too. All right, so let's look at the first law. All right, can you guys see this?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so never outshine the master. So, and it says always make those above you feel comfortably superior. In your desire to please or impress them, do not go too far in displaying your talents, or you might accomplish the opposite, to inspire fear and insecurity. So make your masters appear more brilliant than they really are, and you will attain the heights of power. All right, what do you guys think about that?
Well, it sounds like pandering to me.
What about you, Nadia?
Yeah, it sounds insincere.
Yeah, that's what I told you. Nadia, what were you saying?
I agree with him to some extent because, being in a position of superiority, I should say, you don't have to, when you interact with somebody in that sort of position, you don't necessarily have to make them feel, superior to you.
Yes.
We're all empowered. We're all empowered. And I don't think we need to, how to say it? I don't have to make you feel empowered so that you would know that you are superior to me.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And Catherine is joining us. Let me see here.
Hello, Eliane. Thank you.
Catherine, welcome here. Thank you so much. We just started, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and we're just doing the first law right now. All right.
Okay.
Did you look at this book?
I have not, but I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, great. All right, so this is what we just covered, and we were just talking about it. It says the first law is never outshine the master. And some of this is offensive, so I understand. So always make those above you feel comfortably superior. In your desire to please or impress them, do not go too far in displaying your talents, or you might accomplish the opposite, to inspire fear and insecurity. Make your masters appear more brilliant than they really are, and you will attain the heights of power. All right, so that's the first law. Do you understand that, Catherine?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, no problem. All right, so the first example, when he talks, this book is amazing because it has like a lot of historical examples, that are very interesting, especially if you love history. All right, so the first, I'm just going to give you a couple of examples. So this is this Fouquet was a minister of finance of Louis XV, and so the quote here is, so this did not follow that law. All right, so it says, when the evening began, Fouquet was at the top of the world, and by the time it had ended, he was at the bottom. All right, so he didn't follow that law, and this is what happened to him. So this is Louis XIV. He was a very proud and arrogant man who wanted to be the center of attention all the time. And you guys heard of Versailles, that palace in France? Have you guys heard of that?
Yes.
And so that's it's like gold inside, and it's gorgeous. So this Nicolas Fouquet was his finance minister, and this Fouquet person was a man who was generous and loved lavish parties, pretty women, and poetry. So he decided to ingratiate himself with the king, with Louis XIV, by staging the most spectacular party the world had ever seen. All right, and so that was the that was a transgression that he had. So the party ran well off into the night, and everyone agreed it was the most amazing affair they had ever attended. But then the next day, because he outshone his master, and he made his party so lavish and extravagant that he even outshone this major king. He was arrested the next day by the king's head musketeer, and then 3 months later, he went to trial for stealing money, and he was found guilty and sent to prison. And so he was there for 20 years in isolation. So this is an example of uh, that he didn't follow that rule. All right, what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, I'm not sure that the mistake he made is necessarily that he didn't follow the law
Okay.
in the book. If he was actually stealing, if he put on a party that was so lavish that people were questioning where he got the money,
No,
and then he's found guilty for stealing.
Actually,
I don't know all the history behind it.
I didn't put that part. So they convicted him for stealing, but he was actually stealing on behalf of Louis XIV. But then Louis XIV, and that's just a subplot, basically. And so Louis XIV accused him of stealing when it was really Louis XIV who was stealing.
Well,
So it's a more complicated.
he was cavorting with thieves then.
Yes, he was.
I mean, that's a whole other issue.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Please chime in, Nadia and Catherine. All right. So that was the first law, and that's an example. So then it goes on. It says everyone has insecurities. We all do about something. And it says, according to this book, when you show yourself in the world and display your talents, you're naturally going to stir up all kinds of resentment, envy, and other manifestations of insecurity. So that's natural. So then he has two sub rules of this first rule. And it says the first sub rule, you can inadvertently outshine a master just by being yourself, because some people are just so joyful and so happy and just naturally attract people to them. And just by being themselves, they can simply outshine a master. And there are masters who are more insecure than others. Some are really, really insecure. And you can't help yourself, so you have to be careful of that. So the lesson to the first rule, sub rule, is if you can't help being charming and naturally superior, you must learn to avoid such monsters of vanity. So either find a way to avoid that kind of vain person, vain master, or find a way to somehow mute your good qualities when in the company of someone who is monstrously insecure.
But there are situations in your life that may happen where you can't mute it because these are your natural qualities that, once somebody meets you or you have to work with someone, your qualities naturally come out,
Mm-hmm.
And I can give an example of that.
Yes, go ahead.
So I was in a class, I joined this yoga class, and the assistant teacher, she sat very closely to where I was, and she was very young and quite talented, and I always admired her and all of that. But I quickly followed the yoga, and I fell in place, and it was as if I was a part of this class for a long time. And as soon as I started progressing, immediately I saw a change in her. She just stopped talking to me, and she would totally ignore me. Even if I greeted her, all of that, you could tell that, she would respond, but it would be very cold and, very brief, and that was it. So she would never talk to me yeah, other than that, if I greet her, she would respond, but it was quite cold. So, you read that, and she came to mind, and it
Yeah.
was not me wanting to outshine her in any way. It was nothing like that. It was just that, I felt, it was just natural for me. The yoga just really progressed, and, you know,
Yes, so you would need another one of the rules to go about that, right?
hmm
According to him, um, which we can talk about that later. But yeah, you can't help yourself. That's who you are. You just, what are you
yeah.
gonna do? Like do bad yoga because you don't want to offend somebody? You know, what are you gonna
Right.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Catherine, you're with us, Catherine?
Yes, I'm here. I'm trying to download it on my computer so I can view the slides better.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure that you're still with us, that you don't have any questions or anything you want to comment. Please comment because I like interactive presentations. How's that?
Okay, all right.
All right, so let's go back here. I'd rather see your faces than the slides, but all right, so let's go back to the slides. So that's the sub rule 1. And then the sub rule 2 is never imagine that because the master loves you, you can do anything that you want. And it says entire books can be written about favorites who fell out of favor by taking their status for granted, daring to outshine the master. So it says if your ideas are more creative than your master's, ascribe them to him or her in as public a manner as possible, and make it clear that your advice is merely an echo of his advice. So then that person won't be intimidated by you, and you can have more power because he'll promote you and he'll help you. You know, he'll keep giving you more powerful jobs. I think that's the idea of that. Yeah, what do you guys think about that?
The master sounds very insecure.
Yeah, the master is very insecure for sure. Yep. So that's the first law, all right, and the sub rules. And then I'll give you my own example. And I'm sure you guys have examples of your own, and if you want to share them, I love to hear them. But at the university I work at the university I work at, there's a professor that charms all the deans. And so they'll come in and I noticed one day, after reading this book, I'm like, why does he have so much power, this person? And then I started reading this book and I'm like, oh, that makes sense, but anyways, this person compliments the deans often. He's very nice to them, he's very helpful. He very, very much volunteers for different jobs. So because he doesn't outshine the master and is so helpful, the deans have assigned him to the most powerful committees. And therefore that person, by never outshining the deans, which are his masters, and this is not just one dean, this is been like 4 deans, he has gained a lot of power at that university because he acts that way. And he never outshines the master. So I thought that I just wanted to share that with you. All right, so you guys good with this law?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. All right, so then, so anybody want to talk about how it's been applied to your life in some way? Anybody? You don't have to. I was just wondering if you have any thoughts about it.
I have an experience to share.
Oh, please, yes.
So I have a horse, and I was a first-time horse owner, and she was a really difficult horse, and I kind of had a good way with her, and a lot of people were resentful of that in the horse barn and area where I was. So I found that if I wanted to make headway with her in training, I had to always say that my ideas came from somebody who was an esteemed source or somebody that others respected. Otherwise, everything got shot down.
Oh,
So
wow.
I don't know if this kind of applies to that, but
I think so. Yeah, because you had to kind of not be as gifted and as charming and as creative as you could be. You had to kind of tone it down, otherwise she would be intimidated by your ideas.
Yeah, well, it was more than that. It is that my horse really needed an advocate, and she wasn't getting her needs met unless I could um, kind of make my ideas say they came from somebody. It was really kind of crazy, but I didn't think about all of it until this kind of call. But I think we have to learn how to navigate these times intuitively a lot, all of us.
I agree, and that's why I love this book. And I was telling them, um, and I've actually applied some of these. Some of these ideas are really offensive, but they make sense to me. And this guy, I like his. I mean, he's very rude, kind of. Maybe not rude, but very. How can how can I say this? Like straightforward. He doesn't try to mince words. He just says it like it is. And he has a couple of books that I want to read in addition to that. But anyways, thank you so much for sharing that. So, all right, so let's go back to the slides and we are into rule number 2. All right, or law number 2. So never put too much trust in your friends. Learn how to use enemies, which is offensive, right? So it says, be wary of friends. They will betray you more quickly, for they are easily aroused to envy. They also become spoiled and tyrannical. But hire a former enemy, and he will be more loyal than a friend because he has more power, more to prove. In fact, you have more to fear from friends than from enemies. If you have no enemies, find a way to make them.
What? That's crazy talk.
It is.
That's interesting.
And I'm sorry about my typos. Now that I'm like telling you I have typos all over the place, so I'm sorry about that. I told you it's a crazy, crazy book. I told you. So find some
What?
enemies.
It's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yes, 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 yes. So if you
Yeah,
guys
I've
don't
heard
know,
that before.
if you can't beat them, join them. Something like
I
that.
don't know about that. Yeah, I guess.
So
Be true to yourself. That would be my advice.
what's that?
Be true to yourself.
Yes, I
I
understand.
agree with that.
Be true to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I see what you're saying. Totally. So then let me give you an example. This is in the book here. So I don't know if you've heard of Henry Kissinger. He's a famous person. He was a
Oh, yeah.
Secretary of State under Presidents Nixon and Ford, and he
Hmm.
was just very. He was a diplomat. He was very smooth and suave, and so they have a story about him. So in 1971, during the Vietnam War, Kissinger was a target of unsuccessful kidnapping attempts, and one of them involved an anti-war activist uh, set of priests. So Kissinger, he's the potential victim of a kidnapping. He arranged a Saturday morning meeting with 3 of the kidnappers. And he explained to his guests, which were the potential kidnappers, that he would have American soldiers out of Vietnam by 1972, and he completely charmed them. All right. So I would be terrified of meeting my kidnappers, but that's what he did. And so he charmed them, and they at the end of that meeting they gave him kidnapped Kissinger buttons, and one of them remained a friend for several years, visiting him on several occasions. And it says in the book that he made a policy of working with those who disagreed with him. And his colleagues commented that he seemed to get along better with his enemies than with his friends. So that's the story in that book for that one. So are you guys good with that story?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I would point out, though, that the kidnappers were priests.
So tell me what, I don't follow that. Tell me, friend.
Well, it said that the kidnappers were priests, men
Mm-hmm.
of the cloth, church people, religious people.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's a little different than, just some hardline kidnapper that's looking for money. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that's a very important piece of the story, that they
point.
were priests. That's all.
I got it. Yeah, there's a lot of good stories.
I mean, he used his judgment, and he was a brilliant man. I'm not taking away from that, but he also knew what their value systems were. I think we're all frozen. Oh, Leon, you froze. Is everybody frozen? My screen. Oh, now you're back.
Hi. Maybe she's having internet problem.
Must be connectivity, yeah.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, well then, pick us up. Okay.
I'll be right back. She'll probably pop back on, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just a connectivity issue on her end.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of control though on our end. That's the problem.
I think she can go right back into the room though.
If you look at participants, it now says that Nadia is the host.
Really?
Oh, so maybe you'll have to let her in.
I don't know how this is going to
Oh,
work. We'll find
I don't
out.
know how to do that.
I think we just wait and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
That's odd. I'm going to send her a text message.
I just sent her a message via WhatsApp, but the message isn't going through though.
I'm going to send her a regular text message with just texting, see what happens.
Maybe she can join from her phone if her Wi-Fi's down.
She's back. She's muted.
I'm sorry, that's the internet went off. Okay.
There you are. Okay.
Sorry. All right. So we went over this kidnap Kissinger one. All right. And then I'm just going to give you an example, and you guys could talk about another example if you want. All right. Of your own, because I love to hear your stories. So this is just a simple example. In college, I had a colleague, a fellow student who was very smart but egotistical. And because he was so egotistical, nobody talked to him that much. But he knew a lot of stuff, and I always was very scared of him because he seemed like he was so much smarter than everyone else. And so one day I decided, instead of being afraid to ask him questions, that I would try to just see where it went. If I would try to be nice to him, maybe he wouldn't be as egotistical with me if I was complimenting him sincerely. And so I did that, and he changed. I mean, at first it was kind of weird, but then eventually he let his guard down, and he was grateful that I started talking to him, because he was so smart and intimidating that nobody ever wanted to approach him. Have you ever seen people like that? That they're just like, there. So then it turned out that instead of being rivals, we became friends, and he taught me a lot of things that I would not have understood otherwise. So I'm grateful that instead of an enemy, I made a friend. You know, so that's just a very simple example. Can you guys relate to that, or do you guys want to talk about anything in your life? No, you're good.
Yeah, I have no example that fits that, so
You would
nothing
have to
to
think.
add.
Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. So that's the second law. And you know, I'm sure when you think about this, when you have nothing else better to do, I'm sure you'll have an example. But anyways, the third one, the third law is to conceal your intentions. So it says keep people off balance and in the dark by never revealing the purpose behind your actions. If they have no clue what they are up, if they have no clue what you are up to, they cannot prepare a defense. Guide them far enough down the wrong path, envelope them with enough smoke, and by the time they realize your intentions, it'll be too late, and you'll get what you want.
Sounds somewhat deceitful.
Yeah, it's deceitful, definitely.
I do believe in when you have your plans, so you don't go making announcements about them until they manifest. Um, but this is very misleading. The intent behind this is quite, deceitful.
Right. So it's going beyond what you're saying.
Yes,
It's, it's not just it's not just disguising what you're doing, but
Yeah.
totally leading them to the wrong path.
yeah. So I don't agree with it.
You don't
I
agree with
don't agree with it either.
No.
that's
I
fine.
am. I actually have a friend who's a Hawaiian shaman, and he said that in Hawaii, the shamans never tell people what they're doing because other people's subconscious, they can't help but have a judgment about your plans or what you're doing. And those judgments in the spiritual realm have effects.
Hmm.
And you don't want, if you don't want any of your efforts tarnished by, the thoughts of others, then you keep it to yourself, which
Yeah,
I always thought was very interesting.
yeah. So yeah, because you don't want their energies to taint your plans. Basically, that's what he's saying, right? Yeah, that's pretty cool, pretty amazing. Um, I like that. So you know shamans, Catherine? Catherine? Catherine, you there? Okay. All right. So let's go on here. All right. So there's an example here of this law. All right. So there's this lady called Nina de Leto. This is from the book. You know, I didn't make this up. All right. So in this book, there's this lady, and she was the most infamous courtesan of 17th century France. So she knew all about love and seduction and getting all kinds of things from men and all that stuff, right? So there's a marquis, a young marquis that approached her and he started complaining to her about his difficulty in pursuing a particular beautiful but difficult young countess. And so this famous courtesan Ninon, she told him to approach the count with a bit of distance, an air of nonchalance, like he didn't really care, you know, whether she liked him or not. And what he would do, this is just one example that he did. He would confide in that difficult countess as would a friend, but not a potential lover, to keep her off track. And so what happened, for example, was that they have different parties in France, and at a major party in Paris, the Marquis to make her jealous, this countess, he would show up with many beautiful women at his side, and the courtesan told him that a woman who's interested in a man wants to see that other women are interested in him as well, and she would like the satisfaction of grabbing him uh, compared to the other women. So he did this and all kinds of, sneaky things to get this countess. And it turned out that the difficult countess was falling for the Marquis. All his games were working and all of that. And then one day he couldn't stand it anymore. He couldn't hide it anymore. And so while he was with the countess, the difficult countess, he took her hands and whispered in her ears that he was in love with her. And so once he did that, all was gone. The spell was broken, and she was no longer interested in him. And so the Ninon explained to him that he should have just held back his desires and played with the countess some more, so he could really have her, but he couldn't wait, so it didn't work out. So that's an example of concealing your intentions.
That sounds so extreme, though. It sounds so extreme.
Yeah.
Like listening to how the story unfolded, right? So I kind of picture someone who's playing hard to get. You're interested in someone, but you're playing hard to get, and eventually, you tend to find that they do get together, and then they take it from there. So this is totally contrary to something like that.
You
Yes.
can't do that. But you know what? From a man's standpoint, you can't do that anymore because of the Me Too movement. You can't play those games.
Right.
With a woman, you can't play those games?
Nope,
Okay.
not
So
anymore. That's what they want. They want this. I don't know how to even characterize it, but you can't do it. It's too scary on the man's part now.
So let me give an example of what I'm speaking about, right?
Go ahead.
So like when I met my husband, we were working at the same school, right?
Mhm.
And I found like the first day I met him, he was very chatty, but that's in his nature, right? But then he started to ask, like, as the day progressed, he was asking these questions like, so are you married? And I'm like thinking to myself, I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to be working together. What is your problem?
Mhm.
So I was like, totally disenchanted with all these questions and all that. But anyways, with time, everything was different. But then when he started asking these things, my mindset was like, okay, no.
Yes.
So this is what I'm saying. So like, it's like maybe sometimes it's hard to get, and then eventually everything falls in place.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. Catherine, what do you think? Are you good? I don't know if she's with us still. Catherine?
Her mic is muted though.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Oh,
Catherine?
yeah, she's muted. She's muted everything. Her video and her mic.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully she's there. All right. So then that's an example, and it's this book is saying that most people are open books. I know a lot of people who are open books, and they just blurt out. It's like they're just like having vomit of the mouth, just they say whatever they feel.
Yeah.
Whatever they feel, whatever they're thinking, and you're like, where is this going? What's your point here? Have you ever had that? It's like blah, 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 blah. So what is the point here? So they blurt out their opinions at every opportunity and constantly reveal their plans and intentions. And it says your honesty is likely to offend people. Tailor your words, telling people what they want to hear rather than the coarse and ugly truth of what you feel or think.
Isn't that dishonest?
No, it's not dishonest. I
Okay.
think that's a smart idea, actually.
Say again, Fred?
I agree with that. I sort of run my life that way. I just hold my cards close.
Yes. Okay, so you follow this, conceal your intentions. Okay, so it says by being
To a point, yes.
What's that, to a point? Yes.
Yes, to a point.
Mm-hmm. So it says, by being unabashedly open, you make yourself so predictable and familiar that it's almost impossible to respect or fear you. And power will not accrue to a person who cannot inspire respect and fear. And there's no mystery. If that's another rule that comes later. If you blurt out everything, there's no mystery to you. So if people know you, then there's nothing exciting because they know everything about you. So that's talking about that example. And then so it says one tactic you could do, and this is to hide your intentions, not by closing up. You don't want to just not say anything, because if you don't say anything, you appear secretive and make people suspicious. You know, if you just are quiet all the time. But and so what it's saying that you should do instead is talk, but talk about your desires and goals that are not the real ones.
Oh, so they want you to lie.
Yes, yes, to make something up. Maybe I want to be a ballerina or something like that. And that's your desire.
I
So
don't know.
this
So it
book,
kind
I
of
don't
ties in with the
know.
second law,
yeah, yeah,
where you just misleading people.
yes, mislead people, and it says you will kill three birds with one stone. You appear friendly and open and trusting, but you conceal your intentions, and you send your rivals on a time-consuming wild goose chase when you do this.
Mm.
So they can't attack you because they don't really know what your true intentions are. It's pretty interesting, this book. All
I
right,
don't have these kind of relationships, though.
say again.
I don't have any enemies.
So
I don't have these kind of relationships.
you have to make
So
some.
if there's someone that I would well, no, but I was going to say, if there's someone that I would consider to be an enemy, I simply do not associate with them anymore.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know.
What if you have to work with them? You have to. You work with them. What do you do?
Well, right now it's not true in my life. I mean, I'm in a position with the company I work at that I don't have to play any games. So I don't
Good.
know.
So this is not a problem in your life.
So,
Well, I I kind of feel like it goes against the teachings of Silva.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, it definitely is interesting. It makes you think.
it
It
does.
does.
It does.
It see, I told you the reason I started reading this book is not to do all these rules to like apply them, but it's like it's the psychology behind them. You know, it's I want to know the psychology behind what other people are doing and how other people think. So for that, I love this book.
It's
All
very
right,
extreme. It's very extreme.
very offensive. Yes, I agree.
But for me in work, because you tend my organization, I meet a lot of people, and for me, I maintain a safe distance.
Mhm.
So I'm a very friendly, pleasant person, so I'm always smiling. I treat everyone the same way. So from the time I walk in and I see the security guard, I greet with a smile. The janitors, I greet with a smile. So everybody gets the same greeting, you understand, and the same smile and whatever. I don't take my issues from home to work, and I don't take my work stuff home. And I was once approached by someone who asked the question of, Miss Nadia, do you have any problems? And I was taken aback and I asked the person, why would you ask such a question? Of course I do. And she said to me, she's like, because every time I see you, you're always smiling. You
Yeah.
don't look like you have any problems at all. You always look well put together and all of that. So, but I maintain a safe distance and I treat people with respect. respect, whether you're nice, you're not nice, whether you're having a good day or you're not having a good day. That's you and your, so I maintain a safe distance, and for me that works perfectly well. So
Mhm.
I find that when you get attached to people and you start sitting down and you start discussing, most of the times when you sit with people, you tend to start talking about other people, and it starts, a whole different change. It depends on who you are with. So I like the safe distance.
Yes,
Yeah.
I totally understand. Yeah. All right. So then I have an example, and I talked about, I made a little video about this, and this is about concealing your intentions. All right. So there, I have a client, and let's say her name is Jane. All right, and she became friendly with this person. Let's say his name is Tony. All right, so they exchanged stories about their families, and they became good friends, and they learned about each other and what they did, their hobbies, and their life basically. And after weeks of friendship, Tony told Jane that he was in a car accident and that he needed to go to the hospital. So he was in the hospital, and they were there. He was there for weeks, and she kept sending him prayers, and she's a Silva graduate, so she sent him. She worked on him in her lab and all that stuff, selling healing light to him to heal. And lo and behold, one day Tony told her that he was getting out of the hospital, but told him he would not be released from the hospital unless he paid the whole hospital bill. And,
Hmm.
and so he asked her to pay half of the bill to help him out so he can get out of the hospital. And she turned to her intuition, and she realized by different research that she did and her intuition screaming at her that he had concealed that he was this was a true scam. All right, and so he was a big scammer, and he had been scamming people for a while. And he finally, like, after she talked to him and told him she was going to disconnect from him, um, he admitted that it was a scam, and he asked her to forgive him, and she forgave him, but she just separated from him. And so basically he concealed his intentions. That's what scammers do. They tell you, they string you along for whatever reason, and they conceal their intentions because they really want to scam people. So that's just an example of this law.
Hmm.
Perfect example. All right, so you guys good with that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, excellent, excellent. So anybody want to share if anything has happened similar to this?
I was just thinking, Eliane, that a lot of this kind of is like the principle they say of mirroring that you use in like business and sales, where you kind of adapt to the other person,
Uh-huh.
and you mirror their um, persona a little bit, and invokes trust in them. And there are studies that have been proven that this helps. I think some of these laws kind of seem to come at it um, like the nature of people is not good inherently, almost.
So you think mirroring is concealing your intentions because that's not true. That's not really who you are. You're just trying to make the person like you. Is that what you're saying?
No, no, I think people. I guess I wasn't explaining it correctly. I think people do this in sales and in business. Um, it's speaking the language that another speaks so that they hear you, um, and it's not being dishonest. It's just you're kind of meeting the other person where they're at.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
know. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, no, it's the way, yeah, you're right. It's just how you interpret it. So we all might interpret different things, but I think it's the idea of this presentation was just to help you think, how
Yeah,
things work in your life, and these are things I never thought of. So I wanted to do like a presentation about this because I really interested. I mean, I've never been in the military or anything like that, but it would seem like this kind of like strategy, you know, it might
Yeah.
be dishonest strategy, sneaky strategy, but it's still strategy to me. So it's fascinating for me. Um, all right, so I just wanted to tell you, that's what I had for you, the three laws, you know? And so I just wanted to, and there's 48 laws here, and this book, like, it's beautiful. Look how many sticky notes I really read this. So then I was thinking about it, and have you guys heard of Napoleon Hill?
Yes.
No.
So,
Yes.
and have you, Nadia, Napoleon Hill?
No.
So he wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich. Okay, and so he has all these principles, you know, in this book, and he has this principle which is the mastermind alliance. So he says a mastermind, it consists of two or more people working in harmony for the attainment of a goal. And it says when two minds come together, there's a third, and this is just two, you know, mastermind could be like 5 people, 10 people, 100 people, but two people is not just two people, and two minds are not just two minds, that together, two minds make a third mind, and that is an invisible force, which is very, very powerful. And when you get together with somebody, for example, on a topic and you think about it together, you come up with ideas that you would have never thought about in your life, you know. And Ken talks about this all the time. Ken Kasha, you know, that when he talks, like I was talking to him, you know, a few weeks ago about Zoom and all, and then we were talking about ideas and different things he could do, different things that I could do that I would have never thought before because I just wouldn't have taken the time to think about these things. So then, if you like this book, you know, I have a mastermind that I'm gonna do, and it's gonna start on August 12th. And what I want to do is I want to go over this book. So I don't know if you guys ever been to a mastermind before? Have you guys done a mastermind? So a
No.
mastermind is like basically where you go through chapters of this book, like maybe 2 chapters a week or something like that, and then we talk about them and you see how they would apply to your life, and then say you apply one of these laws, then we will come back and we would talk together. You know, this is like for the people in the mastermind. How did this help you? Do you see how it helped you, or did you not like this? What happened as a result? And it's just a place to learn, you know, about this particular book about strategy. So I thought I would, if you're interested in that, you know, I have this mastermind, and in between when we have our meetings, we would apply this and just come up with different ideas for different things and adjust if necessary after a group discussion. So if you're interested in that, you know, I'm happy to talk to you about it. You know, we're gonna start on the 12th, and it's gonna go for 8 weeks. So it's gonna be like 1 week you read a couple chapters, then you apply them, or you think about them, and you come back. We talk about what you applied, then we go for the other 2 weeks, the other week for the next 2 chapters, and so on. And so I just thought I would tell you about that. If you're interested, let me know. And yeah, so that's it. I just thought I would share that with you. Thank you so much for joining me. I so appreciate seeing all of you. Catherine, I don't see you, but I know you're a beautiful lady. So I'm happy that you joined us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Can I ask, can we view these slides?
Yes, I will put, I was recording this, but um, I don't know if it's still recording or not.
Oh,
Oh, maybe it is.
Yes,
Oh,
and
yes, it is.
it's
Oh my
visible to the
goodness.
screen.
All right, do I want to stop it?